map, multiple stairways to go up and down. Kind of reminds me of Bank in that sense, where there is just so much mobility you can use around it and so many ways of getting behind your opponent. In my mind, both of these teams, as the analyst said, play very, very similarly. There is a like, shall we say, to be quite aggressive on the defense. There's a like to be quite aggressive on the attack. You are going to see a lot of explosive fights away from site here, I expect. And to me, Theme Park just plays into that kind of playground, quite ironically, that both of these teams really wanted to face off on.
Well, we'll see what the second attacking ban is, and they're taking their sweet time to decide. Is it going to be another hard breach ban? And no, they've decided, get rid of the shield. We're not playing around that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Kendry's got to be feeling sad right now. He played this in both of their last couple of games, played it against Empire, played it against G2, one of them on Cafe, one of them on Villa, and he showed that he is ready to be one of the big multiplayers in EU. That's a big respect call coming out of Tempra to ban that way away from them, sorry, because look at the game that Tempra had back against Vitality. We've just seen Vitality get absolutely wiped by G2, but when they played against G2, what happened? No, sorry, against Vitality, sorry. What did Vitality do? They just ran Monty continuously and didn't give Tempra an inch. It is a very smart play. That castle ban, that's an interesting one.
I have a sneaky suspicion, and I'm hoping one of the Tempra guys, or even the NaVi guys, I don't care who it is, messages me after, because I had Doki message me from NaVi after their Cafe game, and he said, hey, that pre-analysis you did about our bans was absolutely spot on. So I'm hoping that I can redo that here again. Maybe someone has seen something in a scrim. Maybe this is a target ban. Ooh, who knows? Spooky little theme park. Remember when it used to be Spooky Theme Park? Those were the days when it had train in the middle of the map.
Yeah, it's like a massive garden running through there. God, that just
they had the Halloween
torments
event
my
on
memories in ranked. So no, I don't want to remember, Jess.
No, but they didn't get rid of the clash, so Kendra still has a shield to play with, and we saw him use that to great success against G2 on Cafe, so that's something he could still bring in. But something to preface the match, ladies and gentlemen, Tempra are currently in Bergamo, Italy, where I used to live myself. They're at their boot camp, they're ready to go, maybe being all together, having screens next to each other. It's a different kind of environment, so maybe this plays really well for them here.
Just kind of wild, because I mean, looking even at the stats of Tempra, like you said, Perma banned it 21 times so far this year. NaVi equally have not played on it. So for both sides, this is fresh ground we find ourselves walking on, ladies and gents. There will be a lot of firsts being discovered between these teams, and I think it's definitely a bold call for either side to break away from not playing Theme Park or banning it away to bring it out in this specific game against each other. Like I mentioned earlier on, I put that down a lot to the fact there is going to be a lot of roam play here, a lot of team play away from the site. It's going to get chaotic and explosive.
Well, they're going to kick things off in initiation, and that's not usually the first bomb site you'll see from teams. So this is good. This shows that they are prepared to go to the, you know, quote-unquote weaker bomb sites. And, well, look at this weapon choice. The offsite. Look at this weapon choice from Void. You don't often see this. I think he was running the AUG, and, well, that's not a weapon out of all of the weapons you'll see. Usually see the Commander or the G8, but, yeah, maybe he's comfortable with that.
One of the things I see people raving about with IQ is that every single one of the guns are viable. We see the Commando used quite a lot by Mimosi looking towards in that case. Here the G8 is often regarded as the best gun in the game. The AUG, yeah. Either way, you're gonna use it. You're gonna find kills as long as you can click on heads in the right time, right?
Well, that's 2 Valkyrie cams down in very quick succession, and of course, bringing the IQ very much helps with that. And I heard a third one pop as well, so I don't know if that's all of them gone or whether they just got the second they'd spotted before, but this underneath presence here from P4, I believe what he'll be doing is he'll impact underneath the wall into cash. It'll allow them to open it up, and once he's opened that, that will stop them from being able to, he knew exactly where that was. This is definitely been scrimmed.
Yeah, I mean, all those Valkyrie cameras they picked out there in pretty rapid time. Inside 60 seconds, all of them were dead, and every single one was spaced out towards the east side here, around Cash, around the Dragon Hallway upstairs, and actually inside of the walls itself. So I do like how there has been focus from NaVi there to make sure they've got the intel on where this Tempra side are coming from. The question now is, how do you respond without this intel? It's all going to come down to either C4 play coming in from below or contesting them hard on the upstairs. And looking at Kendrew here, sat inside of office, just daring them to try and push through this breach. You can already see exactly where the main focal point of this round is going to be.
Well, drones will come soaring through from Dirtzer and Shinka. They're trying to get as much intel as they can because they've got a whole minute to play with and the main wall is opened up. Keoxys will have to dispatch of Nello in initiation, or he could just hold the rotate, but unfortunately they've taken no picks thus far. A jump out onto a droning Zofia. That's exactly how you kick things off and saves. Well, he'll start to get wall banged and Void says, I got the trade ready for you. So a good couple of picks. He panics. He misses out on the trade back. So that's not going to be good. And Void, he says the orc can hit heads. That's why I pick it, Jess.
Absolutely it can. The fact he can rotate all the way downstairs, just passing by Panic's line of sight, nets him a second kill as well. So it's a 4 versus 3 for Tempra. The other one's in the commanding position so far. And speaking of commanding positions, oh my god, it reminds me so much of Villa. It's so beautiful to see. Straight in behind the door there, and I was going to say no one should be able to stop him, but it's Panics from the long angle inside of initiation, gets a beautiful spray down, and that angle was not being held by the attackers too clearly here. A second kill comes in, make it a third. It's a 1 versus 3. It was all looking at Tempra about 10 seconds ago, but now it's down to the other side. They've got no time left. This is an easy end of the round. NaVi take round number 1 with a fantastic play coming out of Panics there to shut down the planter.
I said Keoxys needed to have dealt with initiation because there was a crossfire. Not only was there a line of sight open, but there was a whole rotate for Panics to move through. And Keoxys just didn't deal with the lines of sight open from initiation. So, I mean, you could play it behind Vault Door you want, very reminiscent of Villa. But if you have a line of sight onto you, it's pointless. So that round should have been Tempra's and something they'll learn from very quickly, I think.
Small mistakes in rounds. It's the one thing I always love touching on. It's very often not the final kill that you kind of look at and go, man, that round really was 50-50 right up until the final kill. There's often a lot of things that precede it, and small things like that can be what weighs into it. Now, Kendra is saying, you know what? Monty is banned. We are on the defensive side. I think I need my shield fixed, guys. Please give it to me. And here it's going to be the clash coming out for him. We've already seen how much trouble that he can cause. We've seen that he considers it a very heavy counter to Monty that many teams like to bring. So here I'm not surprised to see him saying, well, let's bring it along. Let's waste a bit of time. Yes, there's no Monty, but we all know how much of a nightmare Clash can be. And just earlier on, in fact, Jess, you were saying you despise Clash.
The reason I despise Clash is because she's so oppressive. It's not just a Monty. It's a Monty that can slow you down. It's a Monty that can zap you and deplete your health. And I just think that having an operator that's so oppressive like that is one that, if you don't deal with very quickly in the late round, absolutely cripples you. And that's what Kendra will be relying on. We saw him, like I said before, against G2. The way that he was able to play the late round and stop the execute by just being so oppressive and so invincible many a times is why Kendra is really going to do well on this if he can stay in a really good, safe position with it.
Speaking of Kendra, he has been one of the star players to me these last few weeks. Not just because he's been the guy in the Monty you have to feel sorry for and therefore go, you know what, yeah, you're doing really well, mate, standing behind that bulletproof shield that no one else can hit you through. Genuinely, he has been the shining light on several occasions so far for NaVi. You look towards someone like Doki or Saves as being the big fraggers of this team, especially when they're going on to the attack. But I think with Kendra, the number of rounds he's found himself with 2 or 3 kills reigning over, being the clutch god that we all know him to be from 2019, it is so hard to write off his capabilities.
Well, it's going to be Panics on his lonesome in Vault. I believe he has a rotate onto yellow stairs, and he's got 2 ADSs and a shield, so this extended play is very usual for teams these days. Doki will assist via the rotate. He has some bullet holes in the wall, I believe, so it'll give him an opportunity to help Panics if he does get pushed in on, and, well, they are stalling out as a result, and he hears a drone, I believe, but he can't quite spot it out, and they'll eventually be able to get that cache wall open, but now they've got to be able to deal with Panics, who would be the big thorn in their side here.
Let's not forget, this is very, very similar to the setup that we saw in the previous round, only it wasn't Kendry playing where he is right now. It was Panics holding off the crossfire into Office. They've kind of done a bit of a switcheroo here on NaVi, but it's the same hold coming out once again, where they're trying to pin the attackers back in towards the east side of the map by contesting them inside of Office and Initiation. Let's not forget the Bunkin Daycare is the site. So this is the extended hold coming through here for all intents and purposes. There is still a lot more for Tempra to do. We only have 75 seconds left to do it in.
That extra pocket reinforcement will come in handy. Nello decides it's too much for him and he'll reinforce it off, and Panics will finally go down, but that means that they can all rotate back to site as it was an extended hold. And Doki's hoping he can get a pick so that he could even out numbers count, but he'd be better being safe here on yellow because he can stop anyone moving on in. And that's exactly what he's going to do. And less than a minute left means that there's a lot that Tempra need to get done. They've only been able to pick Panics, and well, they don't have a lot of site control now that everything's been reinforced up.
People's back in that same spot that he was before. The thing is, he needs to make something happen from here. We're running down to 30 seconds or so, and NaVi don't look too uncomfortable right now. That is, of course, unless some kills can get traded out here in the mid-round, or the late round, I suppose I should be saying. At this point, we've seen it happen so often here, but it's going to be a decoy, Doki. Get baited, son. Either way, it's 20 seconds left. There's not a lot of time here. Tempra have got to move fast, as right now they are nowhere near the site. I say that as Void comes sprinting in through Cafe to keep a close eye on him. It's Nello finding one out inside of the kitchen at the same time. We've got Shinka coming in from the backside as well. They just can't find these final few members. Kills are trading back and forth. It's a 2 versus 3, almost down into a 1 versus 3, but no, it's a 2 versus 2, and it all comes down to Chaoxis by himself. But just like in the last round, time is the worst enemy of Tempra. NaVi take round number 2.
A really good corner hold there from Nello. The thing I want to point out there was that Nello had a reinforcement on the right-hand side of him in break, and the reason you're probably wondering why that's so important is his smokes can cut through the wall and stop the plant. So if someone did go right up on the reinforcement on the breach and try and get a plant off, he would be able to deny very safely from break. So that's why he was, you know, heavily playing that break position. He didn't want to move from it because that was his job. So really well done from Nello there to hold out until the very end. But Tempra, they're losing a lot of time, and even when they do go to the execute, not everyone's even ready.
I mean, ready is kind of the hard part, right? Because they're trying to push forward as a team, and I'll give to both teams. This has been a slightly different style of play than I expected. Things like the Clash really slowing things down. The Iana able to be too effective because of the mute jammers, of course, cancelling / destroying that decoy. It's kind of becoming almost like a line is formed between the two teams, and neither team can really step over it at that point. Admittedly, for NaVi, they don't need to. For Tempra, they do. And so far, they've just found themselves continuously stuck at this point of initiation and office, unable to get over and unable to actually push in towards the site. Yes, in round number 1, they managed to do that, but didn't have initiation control at the same time. So very, very good from NaVi so far to have these holds in that is giving nothing away to the side of Tempra. I think it's Tempra who need to freshen up their ideas a little bit and maybe look to start going more aggressive.
This is a little bit of an unorthodox setup, and the reason I say that is, well, we had lab reinforced, we have barrels unreinforced with a rotate, we have lines of sight holding all the way over towards the bathroom. I wonder what this is about. Are they just absolutely so certain they're going to push yellow stairs and do a top floor take? If so, this is a really good setup, but what if the attackers adapt? What if they decide they're going to do a pinch push onto throne instead? I mean, this is a very specific setup.
It's an interesting one. Maybe not what we're always seeing, where normally it would be that all of the throne and armory area would be reinforced up to make it as impenetrable as could be, with some Kai backing or something along those lines, as you can see Kendra bringing along here. I'm keen to see how aggressive it lets them play out towards the west side, as you say, getting good use of that space that's now been created for them. Tempra in on the top floor, nice and quick as you'd probably come to expect. Want to make sure this time around they're not wasting any time in and around initiation, as you would come to expect. This does mean with that vertical control, they should be able to do some work on getting the flooring open, though, above the armory side of things, at least to give them some more control to the north and force the defenders away from those positions of comfort.
Well, they will open up above, and they have no idea that someone's playing over in bunk, so P4 will tank a few shots, but that's okay. He's still got a lot of life in his hands, and Doki says, all right, I'm just going to scurry all the way back to arcade stairs, and that's okay. He's been able to at least make his presence known, and this is what I said. If they decide to go for a throne push rather than a yellow stairs push, this could be very dangerous. They'll need to sail a grenade over the top to get rid of that mute. They don't have a Maverick to play with here, so they've only got Shinka with the thermite, and oh no, they've been so good at getting these Valkyrie cams, and he's not able to quite get this one yet, but he will spot it out eventually.
Good spot to be in as well, yeah. Very good to finally remove. However, that would have given a lot of information. They know that there are 3 pushing into maintenance side here, and I've got to worry about this grenade should come singing over here and delete away that mute jam, which means the wall can be opened up. So it took a bit of time to get top 4 control. It's taken an extra minute or so to get this wall open. With 60 seconds left, we know how hard this site can be to push inside of. So let's see how much damage NaVi can do when the inevitable push does come through.
Well, they're going to send a clone in first just to check things out, whether or not it's safe for them to enter. They can hear one TCSG popping close, but they have no idea that Nello is tucked in beside the throne itself. Generally, you expect sort of a C4 player to be playing over towards the back of throne, but things will kick off when Kangaroo decides to peek on out. It's going to be Nello and Saves to peek on out as well. It's all up to Chaoxis and P4. That's a beautiful shot, but it misses. Doki will fire back onto P4 instead. Chaoxis, he'll finally get one. but he'll need to capitalize on 3 more. No diffuser in hand. 13 seconds left. He'll catch another. He just needs 2 more shots. 10 seconds left. Can he put those shots together? He has the weapon for it, but there's goo mines sailing out left, right, and center. He's not moving fast enough, and this round will go into the hands of NaVi.
Once again, it's them running out of time here. Tempra, a little bit slow today. Maybe slower than we came to expect from them, given their past performances. But I love the defensive setup coming out of NaVi in that round. That breach was open. It would have been very easy to sit back and just say, guys, hold the angle and wait for them to push. What do NaVi say? They say, you know what, guys? Screw it. Let's go aggressive. Let's try and kill him. Yeah, why not? Kendrew's right up against the breach. Gets one. Gets traded out straight away. Nello swings twice out into maintenance itself. Finds the first kill at the very back of it. The second one loses out in the contest towards Dragon. But they definitely gave Tempra something to think about. Tempra were never comfortable. They couldn't just say, all right, breach is under our control here. No worries. They're not going to push us, because they were popping up at every doorway, popping up at the breach itself, just constantly keeping Tempra guessing and not letting them get comfortable. And that is such a huge advantage in this game, I think, when Tempra have looked so composed in previous weeks, despite things being a bit crazy. Here, maybe NaVi are making things just a little bit too crazy for them.
Well, Voice had a good game thus far, but that was only in the first round. So now the rest of his teammates are trying desperately to salvage the rounds, but NaVi have just been too good so far. And, well, given this is a map that takes a lot of time, I kind of liken it to maps like Villa or Clubhouse, where it takes a long time to get the walls open. There's a lot of step-by-step that you need to follow. So being that it is 3 rounds in the hands of NaVi, that's not too surprising given they are starting on defense, but they 6-picked off the Clash and they picked a Doc instead. So nothing, I mean, that will surprise the attackers, I don't think, but at least they know that maybe there might be a shield on the board. And now that we move over to Lab, we'll see whether or not they do an extended hold over into Armory, which I think is generally the new meta for holding Lab.
I'm not so much like shocked or overly surprised. Now, Void definitely saw that. Too easy. I was going to say, I'm somewhat surprised. This is actually a really good time to talk about it. I'm surprised they keep on bringing the Valkyrie along. Now, I understand in the early round, the first 30 to 60 seconds or so, you have those cameras in place. They can help you, as we saw in the last round, in catching out 3 inside of maintenance and giving the defenders all the intel they needed to play aggressive towards that breach once it was opened. I'm just thinking here that way back in round 1, we saw Void clear out those 3 cameras inside 60 seconds, yet Panix is still sticking to playing on this Valkyrie.
Well, if they can pick off Void very early, this could be really handy because 2 of the Valkyrie cams are still up. So I think that's the challenging there over into Barrels and Throne that he was hoping to get. But a lot of people won't be familiar with the new lab setup. I mean, the bathroom setup, the lab setup, it's all pretty much exactly the same, except it's a little bit tighter over into the lab side of things. So that's the only real big change that's happened. And there's no hatch above anymore. So it gives a little bit more freedom to the defenders. And the attackers have a little bit of verticality they can play with. But we've seen this time and time again where the Elder will peek out from beside or behind a cover.
Is it the spot here where he's going to go for a bit of a walk, it looks like, rather than staying in one place? It's Void finding the opening kill onto Panix. It's almost befitting. Void's been dealing with his cameras, and now he deals with the operator itself. 2 kills in for Tempra. It's still 3-0 to NaVi, let's not forget, but this is what we're trying to see. Tempra can find one, but Doki does Doki things, finds himself 2. Can he make it a 3rd? Going to have to retreat here and leave his comrade for dead in this case. Kendrew down on the ground, should probably not get saved anytime soon. So make it a 2 versus 3. Very little intel left, though, for the side of Tempra. Now make it a 1 versus 1 as Doki's down 2. It saves to save the round quite literally here for the side of NaVi. 60 seconds to go, so the only way out of this one, I feel, is going to be frags.
He's got 3 different crossfires on him. He'll pick one, and that's an important one. He has these beautiful lines of sight onto Yellow. That's a beautiful headshot. All he needs is one more. It's Shinka. It's the top-rated player of Tempra. Can he take out saves? It's ACOG v ACOG, I believe. He's rocking one as well, and oh, he's going to have to crouch walk his way in. This is smart. He has over 35 seconds left. Surely he can hear him. He sees the backpack. He'll need to connect these shots. And this is a waiting game, ladies and gentlemen. Who peaks first? Who wins out on this? The pings will come out. He'll bait it, but surely there's some intel to give away his positions. Pros don't fake. Yes, they do. And some shots will rain over onto saves. Shinka's in a good position here. But Saves can play time on this. He can just pepper shots through. Will he get it? He'll dock himself. That's the right play. And shots will rain back. He's playing on the time. And oh no, Shinka's played this wrong. He'll have to stick this one. Saves knows it. He can come zooming in. He'll hear the buttons pressing. And that's all over Red Rover.
My word, what a play by Saves. I mean, you think about this team and you look at Kendrew, you look at Doki, sometimes Nello, and you say, you know what? These boys have got it. They can definitely clutch around, but it's Saves coming up big there when everything looked miserable. NaVi so far with a fantastic defense. Admittedly, that round looked like it really should have gone the way of Tempra. But 4-0 is nothing to scoff at because that was the offsite as well. Really not the ideal place where we've seen NaVi have so much success so far. We will now go back upstairs. Bunk and Daycare is on the agenda. I wonder here, will we see Tempra get a single round on the attacking half of Theme Park, Jess?
I'm still trying to catch my breath, dude. Like, honestly, after that clutch, I was like, oh no, we've got 30 seconds left. I haven't taken a breath of air this entire clutch scenario. So as I take a breath of air, and I'm hoping that Tempra are taking a big, deep breath in because this has not been the start they've been looking for. And they're going up against one of the favored bomb sites here of NaVi. Of course, they did start off an initiation. I wonder whether or not Bunk just played out better for them and they sort of turned around and went, hey, Bunk went better for us, so let's just go back there instead.
They're trying to do a bit of a bait and switch on the downstairs. Seems to have worked out well enough for them. And I would say this did go well, let's not forget. There was a very big stall around initiation and cache itself, or initiation and office itself, sorry, where we saw NaVi able to waste a hell of a lot of time. It's where all of the utility went. It's where the operators played around for the most part. Admittedly, it was down to that clash, doing a lot of time wasting off towards the south. Here, it's not quite the same agenda, and in fact, look at that. Panic's changing away from playing on the Valkyrie 2. He's back over to the Wamai, and it's Kendrew on the Bandit. He is playing every operator God sends his way, it feels, in this match.
He seems extraordinarily flexible and versatile, and that's what we expect of someone like Kendrew, who's typically a support player, but of course, versatility is part of his forte, and they're going to see whether or not now they can capitalize on a 5th round, but I think Tempra are feeling the pinch now. I think they're going to speed things up a bit. They know that time's been playing against them, and the first round where they had real good time management, they had the wrong positioning. So I think it's just been mistake after mistake, and they're not huge mistakes. They're just mispositioning at times.
In the speed, I think that's missing the most, right? That's what feels to be hurting from Tempra. Like, this isn't the team that we have seen them play as originally. Look at them on games like Coastline. The way that they enter the map with pace, the way they defend is very, very aggressive. They just never sit still. They're always looking for an opportunity to make something happen. And that game was all the way back at the start against Chaos, mind you, when they were trying to cause some trouble. Since then, we've seen them go to Consulate against Virtus Pro. There's been Clubhouse coming up against Vitality, where Vitality absolutely bullied them with the Monty. They don't deal well in being contained by other teams. And although NaVi aren't exactly standing there with the shield outside of the one round we've seen so far, they definitely aren't letting Tempra play the game they want to. It does feel like they've got a very good read on their opponents here. And this is where I have some worry for Tempra is moving forwards. If you can't deal with teams that play static, if you can't play with this very grounded style of play that we see a lot of teams in the European League making use of, how are you going to be able to pick up too many more wins in the future?
Well, they're finally dealing with the Wamais and the ADSs that are locking Panics in Vault, and of course Doki's here to help out, but Keoxys will kick things off by dispatching of Panics, so that's a good pick there, and I'm not sure whether or not he peeked out, and ooh, he'll get a second onto the clutch of last round saves, and this is a great start here for Tempra. They've got a minute left on the clock. It's 5v3. This is looking much better for Tempra going into this round.
This should be their time, absolutely. It's always that clock that worries me, though. We've already seen what happens in a 1 versus 3 for the side of NaVi. It can always happen all over again. And right now, you can still see a couple up and around the roof or just getting inside a inside a cache, sorry. There is still work to do. They're in a spot now, though, where Office is theirs. They're just about getting this open. 35 seconds to go. You can see Voice starting to push his way upstairs at the same time. So they have got angles being set up here. Things are looking okay in terms of the setup. It's how long NaVi can hold on for. 30 seconds to go.
Smokes will start to rain out, and looks like Tempra with the time advantage they did have will waste it, but that's a great shot from Dirtster onto the head of Doki. 2v5, surely this is impossible for NaVi. One down from Kendrew will kick things off. Is this the clutch from NaVi again on a round that they shouldn't win? They'll come running into Daycare. Smokes will rain out, but they can still get the plant off. A little bit of a rotate here against the legs of one. Can they deny the plant? They can't see it. It's right through the smoke. He'll get it. He just needs to stay alive.
Unbelievable.
Again, a round from NaVi from the depths of nowhere, clutched out of the hands of Tempra.
Just didn't expect that flank to come out of the east side of Bunk, sorry. Oh, my word. 2-1v, well, not even 1v3. That was just a triple kill at the end to close things out rather than it being a 1 versus 3, but it was enough to waste the time down. This time round, it's Kendrew. Literally 2 rounds ago, we were saying how big this guy's been for these boys in the last few weeks, and he comes up massive and around there where it really counts. The same as Saves, and I know there's going to be a lot of celebration from these boys on Twitter after this game if it carries on going this way. 5-0 and on course for a flawless half as they go to what was... I don't want to say one of their cleanest defenses. We did see a plant going down from the side of Tempra, just like in that previous round. It was the crossfire from initiation from Panics that really unsettled them. So be looking out here for someone flanking up Dragon Stairs or someone holding inside of initiation. One thing's for sure, Tempra really need to tighten up these edges of their attacks here because they're leaving it far too easy for the side of NaVi to get in there and shut down crucial members.
Well, you're just seeing the replay there where Kendrew couldn't spot the planter through the smoke, and well, that's okay because no one could see him from the attacking side anyway, and that was a great clutch there. And I just want to highlight something Doki said this week on one of his NaVi videos. He said, "We're playing so scared and we don't know why." Well, Doki, I'm happy to say you've absolutely fixed it. It's only been a few days and, well, you're not playing scared anymore. You're playing like absolute kings, UK massive, as one would say, and I believe that's something you can pick up. I'm only the child of UK, right? Here, all the way here in Australia and sending all of my vibes over there.
We've had you at a UK LAN. I'm pretty sure you can be an honorary UK massive member. Don't worry.
Right? Yeah. Yes, I got it. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen.
You're in the club.
I'm in the cool kids club. I'm in the cool kids club.
Well, look, don't say it too loud because people tend to think you're very uncool when you say it. So that's just the way you have to live with. That's the problem of the life, right? You've been challenged at every corner, but you're welcome to say it as much as you like.
Well, round 6 will kick off, and if I'm Tempra right now, I'm sitting in the boot camp feeling really sorry for yourself and the rest of the team. Good C4 wasted there, I believe. That was Kendrew's, and that's one bit of utility you won't have to, at least be worried about. Some shots will rain out from Panics, and he has Barb instead of a C4, so there's only 2 other C4s to deal with, but that's a lot of C4s in one lineup.
The way these two teams are at the minute as well, even outside of this game in terms of context, it reminds me of just like one person heading to war and one person coming back. NaVi are about to go and face Chaos and Vitality, arguably 2 of the easier games they can have here in the European League. Tempra are about to face G2 and BDS. This is that midpoint for the both of them where I think for Tempra especially right now, points matter a lot because I can guarantee you probably won't find yourself getting too many in those next 2 fixtures. And for NaVi, they want to make sure there is momentum going into those next couple of games. This, I really can't stress how crucial this is. Right now, though, it's NaVi who look like the ones that want it more. Already into a 5 versus 4. We're over halfway through the round, and it feels like Tempra are still trying to find an angle in towards the site.
I feel really bad for Tempra there because in previous rounds, they'd made a really big effort to drone around Armory, Throne, Yellow Stairs, etc. to make sure that no one peeked them when they did that exact thing. And of course, here we go. Saves is downstairs all of a sudden, and he gets the peek. So such a shame there, but they'll still be able to get the wall open, of course. The Zofia was able to break the floor below the cash wall, and that means they've got that wide open, but less than a minute left and a couple of really key crossfires. Panic's playing that key crossfire we saw work just rounds ago, and ACOG will spot the head. Surely it does, but he's going to strafe out.
So close. I was about to say Kendrew is squatting in the spot where they tried to plant last time, saying, you want this spot, you got to force me out of it first. 30 seconds left, and I'm already feeling worried. We keep on looking at the clock so often because it has been the biggest threat to Tempra so far. They're into a 4 versus 3 after Nello found a second one shortly after finding Panic's trading out just after, mind you. But once more, they're in a spot where not a lot's coming up, and they don't even know where's the drone work been, guys, because once more, it's Kendrew finding a kill from a spot they didn't expect. A flank comes round, be a second kill coming in for him. They just had no idea where he was, despite spending the entirety of that round on the site itself. My word. Patience.
Far as our observer will have to go back in there, and oh, dearie me. It's looking like a match point 7-0 clean sweep. I don't have any other raps to add to that, big bro. I don't know if you do.
That's pretty much the ending that we saw when Kendrew flanked around the back and got those 2 kills, and the game was like, peace, I'm out. So, we know it ended 6-0. We know that NaVi have just had a flawless first half. Let's see if the first attacking round equally can be flawless. A nice change over there at the last second to bring the Twitch along. Kind of a combo we used to see quite a bit back in the old days, dare I say. Maybe even more so now. It will become more popular. It hasn't been for a long time, mind you. When you don't have a Thatcher on side, what do? An IQ and a Twitch combo is never a bad one to look towards.
I'm very worried for Tempra at the moment, because if you just flew into Italy, you're all sitting there at your boot camp and you get 7-0'd. What do you do after a game like that? You just look left, you look right, you look at all your teammates. You know, I'm not sure if their coach is there or not with them, and you just think, boys, what happened? What did we do wrong, or what did they do just so right that just really tore us apart? And I mean, it's almost like we got disconnected, because I don't think we're allowed to show massacres on Twitch, so they just sort of had to cut it out and just go, no, quickly.
Didn't want to get one of them 3 DMCA strikes, did they?
Isn't DMCA like music, though?
It is, but we'll say in this case it's not.
Okay.
So we'll say it applies to everything. I was trying to make a difference about the strikes, Jess. Can we not just take that as funny, please? Come on, man. Give me a break. This is going to be the shortest cast of my life. I've got to take everything that I can.
So true. This will actually be some of our shortest casts, and for NaVi, they'll be walking away thankful that it was our shortest cast, and Tempra will be walking away very unhappy, but sides have switched here. NaVi will be on attack. Maybe it's one of those instances where maybe it's a defender-sided map. I like to say that because I want to give Tempra the benefit of the doubt here, but they're not looking confident at all.
I mean, this even came less down in my mind. I mean, look, one thing to say about this map, actually, now I think about it, is that there are a couple of kind of bottlenecks you can get forced into, as there are on every single map. This one's a little bit tougher because you can get flanked more often than not. There's no grace period you get on something like Clubhouse, where the double warning to CCTV is outside, or it's a coastline or a constant where you normally play from the outside of a building. You are inside, and most places you will push from will have some kind of flank behind you. We don't really see teams bringing things like the Nomad. We've already seen Kendrew go big on a bit of a flank from the site itself later into the round. We've seen a couple of rounds where they've just been caught completely off guard, both on bunk and on the last side a second ago inside of initiation, where Tempra just didn't know how to react. They weren't prepared for those flanks coming in. So it makes things a little bit tougher to play around, I think, and I will give them some lean towards that. You are getting bottlenecked, you are getting flanked. It is not going to be a pretty experience. The big question is here, can they repeat the same thing back into NaVi? Because it's all good saying, oh, this side had this advantage on this map because they could do this. Yes, but so have you. Let's see if they can bring anything back here in this round. We're already halfway through, mind you. No one has been killed. So it is following that same sort of slow pace that we've seen previously.
I'm loving how NaVi are dealing with a lot of these shields. They're going underneath. They're absolutely circumventing all of the Wamais, all of the Jaeger devices, and they're just going, you know what? I'm just going to go underneath and explode it from below. Who needs ADSs and magnets then? And that's a really good way to deal with it. And now it looks like Doki wants to do a pinch up onto the side. And in fact, wow, there's a lot of players there to deal with him, so he needs to be careful. Proximity alarm will give away his position, and he now knows that he will be spotted out, so he's going to have to be very careful on this. Chaoxis will be the one to shuffle on over to deal with him. Flash will rain out, and Doki will not win that one out. So that's going to be the first pick for Tempra, and a very needed one.
Absolutely. Should take the wind out of their sails ever so slightly now that Doki is gone. And sure enough, P4 will strike back against one of the Clutch Boys himself. However, Clutch Boy number 2 is still here. It's Kendrew bringing down P4 as a bit of a trade for them. Panic's going to find himself shut down as he steps into a goo mine. So to 2 versus 4 for the side of NaVi. Make that a 1 versus 4 for Nello. The one player arguably who hasn't had a big clutch round yet so far. Going to try and find himself in this 1 versus 1 against Shinka. But I think we all know with 5 seconds left exactly how this round is going to conclude. Tempra do at least manage to get 1 round on the board.
Well, this is the comeback they desperately need, but we spoke about this before and in previous matchups tonight as well, is that it's very hard to win that many rounds consecutively. I truly believe that on defense, Tempra can put a lot of rounds on the board, but can they do it consecutively all the way up to give them a draw? Because, ladies and gentlemen, NaVi is on 6 rounds, and that means there can be only 1 winner now. It can only be NaVi, or we can go to a draw of 6-6, but that means 5 full defensive rounds in a row here from Tempra, and that's a big feat.
Let's assume, giving them the benefit of the doubt, they win this round, it goes 6-2. You then go to an air quotes offsite, right? And although I don't really want to call Throne Armory the offsite, because a lot of teams do like defending it, they do relatively well in there, it comes down again to having to push through very, very thin bottlenecks that make it easier for the defenders. I'd still wager that teams are much happier defending upstairs than they are defending either of the downstairs sites. So that's where the challenge is going to come in. We even saw NaVi struggling to defend it back in the first half, if not for a saves 1 versus 3 clutch. This would have been another round that goes the way of Tempra, and instead we're sat here now looking at 5-2. So that 1 round that we saw NaVi clutch, maybe Tempra don't get the clutch. Maybe things don't go the way they plan, and maybe that's when you see NaVi taking it away. But one thing's for sure, they get a second shot playing on this upstairs site once more here. This time around, though, it's going to be initiation and office. I would expect it to play out very, very similarly to how we saw Bunk and Daycare not too long ago.
Well, looks like a little bit of an operator swap between Chaoxys and P4. P4 says, give me Jaeger. I'm going to rock the carbine this round. And Chaoxys says, no problems. Let me throw around some goo mines instead. And we'll see whether or not that helps them in being able to isolate the position of the attackers as they move on in. And of course, we had a proximity alarm last round to deal with the yellow stairs, which I thought worked really well. This time, they're not bringing any. So we'll see whether or not the goo mines work just as effective.
Anything to slow them down. Time is of the essence of both sides, it feels like. You know, you can kind of see the lineup difference as well coming out of NaVi. They're not even bothering looking towards that IQ here. It isn't becoming a main point for them. One thing I will get to Tempra, though, is look how aggressive they want to hold out here down towards the east side of the map, right up against this window, even with a Go shield right there. A couple of ADSs stacked in as well. They are looking to waste time, but I fear this is maybe a little too aggressive when it comes around to it, unless you see P4 bailing here over towards Dragon and retreating down the map.
He didn't even have that ADS behind the top Dragon cooked, I think. So that was a little bit of a premature retreat from there. There you go. He actually even could have picked it up, but he felt a little bit too nervous sitting there. And I think that goes to show exactly why Tempra are doing or having so much weakness towards NaVi here, is they've been way too timid, and it's giving NaVi a lot of the map, and that's why they are being able to take so much of the map control very early, very quickly. But moving on back isn't a bad idea either. It means you have more number and more man count on site, but you don't have ADSs, so this could be a tricky one.
I mean, I'll give it to them, right? They've managed to waste about a minute there on the east side. Nello will find one on to Durz. I was about to say, with a minute wasted over towards the east side, it definitely wasn't a bad extended hold. They managed to get themselves all back and alive, but now you can see the kills starting to fly. It's going to be Void picking up a kill in response onto Nello. 4 versus 4 and 80 seconds left in round number 8.
As you said, they've got over a minute left, and I'm pretty sure Saves can dispatch that Go-Yo shield, and he does. Doki just off the periphery will get Void, and that's a good headshot onto the SMG player, but this is a 4v3. Tempra need this round. There is no more chances for them. They must get the next 4 or 5 rounds rather in a row, and this is one of them to start and kick things off. A drone will come out, and this is good. NaVi have decided to slow things down, but Doki hasn't indeed. He'll finally get traded by P4. It's all up to a 2v2. Can Tempra do it? A couple of shots, perfect TCSG alignment. He'll get Kendra, and now it's all up to Saves. We've seen him clutch rounds before. Can he do it? He's got just over 35 seconds left. He'll have to make this count.
Completely ignore what's going on elsewhere. It's going to be Saves in a 1 versus 2, mind you. Does get one. Can he find the second? The answer so far appears to be no. It's going to be P4 holding off safe. He's going to try and attempt a plant here in behind the shrine itself. P4 gets in nice and close, but that's going to be stuck. And now the advantage sits with Saves. Slightly more HP. Hits the shot, and there we go. Tempra. Oh, no, 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 no. It goes from bad to worse. They have got one hell of a run coming up soon. And I'll tell you what, I do not envy being these players on this team right now. Things are not going to be pretty.
Well, Saves will be feeling very good with himself after that excellent matchup. Of course, several other players stepping up, but I think Saves, having as many clutches as he did, is going to be walking away feeling pretty high and mighty, and as he should. But that's going to be a quick matchup between